Well, thank you for taking the time to listen to this podcast today. This is ShrimpsNet number 13. And we hope we all hope it's unlucky for Accrington. As per, we have Joel from the Trust. We have Charlie with his updates from the boardroom, alongside a former player, which we'll talk about, and first team coach under 3 different managers, John McMahon. John, thanks for joining us.
Good evening and you're welcome.
So, start as we always do. We'll reflect on the last couple of games since we last spoke. We were in the car on the way to Doncaster on Saturday, and there was 5 of us in the car, and we were musing on the fact that we thought we'd get a draw at Doncaster, and we thought we'd get a draw at Crewe. And I was the one who pointed out, well, I'd rather win one and lose one because you end up with one more point. And that's the way it worked out in the end. Joel, I'll come to you. Doncaster, a very, very tough game, as it proved on the day. They were really, really up for it, but I think they had luck on their side a bit.
Yeah, I think obviously we made a good chance with Wes McDonald coming through in the first half, and obviously that's not going in because sometimes they just don't go in. And then obviously, the biggest slice of luck is obviously that penalty. I've looked at it back and I really can't fathom what the ref thought it might have been instead. Like, when sometimes you don't get given a penalty, it's like, say, a player's the opposition's tripped your player, and you can kind of think, well, maybe the ref thought that your player jumped over the opposition player's leg or something like that for a dive. So you can kind of you think it's wrong, but you can kind of see a reasoning that the ref might have had. But with this one, it's just I can't possibly think what the ref thought might have happened. So a bit of a big blunder there, but I think like manager said, you got to try and focus on the things that you can control. And obviously, it didn't work out on Saturday. I think Doncaster. I was watching the game back, and I thought Doncaster came out a bit better and a bit stronger in the second half. They pressed a bit better and they controlled the ball a bit better after being a bit rubbish in the first half. I thought they were pretty poor, but and we've been done on a set piece again, which is a shame. But on the flip side, again, Stephen Robinson made this point. We've not conceded a lot of chances from open play. I think we will, in terms of the numbers on that, we're one of the better sides in the division. But it's just, at least there's an area. At least we know there's an area we can focus on. It's set plays and focus on improving that. But shame to lose. But obviously, as I'm sure we'll come to, be bounced back on Tuesday.
So, John, what was the coaching staff's take on that?
I think similar to yourselves, I didn't think we were fantastic in the game, but looking on reflection in the game as well, I think we still done enough to win the game. Wes goes through, should score really. Obviously, the penalty is a penalty. There's no excuses for the referee. He's in a good position. He just chose not to give it. He thought it wasn't a pen. So frustrating, although it is, you have to accept them decisions. I think we still get some good chances as well. Obviously, Cole gets one blocked in front of goal by Adam Phillips, who runs offside. So again, and then we have another one with Cole in the last minute, and the keeper makes a great save, really. So we were disappointed not to come away with at least a point. And then looking at the game as a whole, we should have come away with 3, really.
Yeah, I don't think you could argue with that, Charlie. What was your take on that penalty? They touched on it on Quest. They didn't show it in the highlights, but then they actually chose to show it as a separate and say, how was he not given that rugby tackle as a penalty? And I just burst out laughing with that's what it was. It was a rugby tackle.
Yeah, I believe the term is absolutely robbed.
Yeah, well, you could possibly say that. We're supposed to be non-biased, but yes, I
mean, it's funny on Quest because I don't know if you watch everybody, but Joey McInnes is a really great pundit, I think, coming through. He's famous for saying the penalty appeals are never penalties. If he's given a penalty on that one, it's definitely a penalty.
Yeah, without absolute doubt. So you saw the game, Charlie. Not the greatest of performances, but we look at it now, and as I've said, we've taken 3 points away at Crewe. We've bounced back really well, and from those 2 fixtures, you'd take 3 points.
Yeah, I think not to spoil my programme notes that are available in Derek Quincy's programme for the next 2 games, but Derek texted me at on Monday morning saying, I need program notes in for 6 o'clock tonight, as in Monday night, because it's going to print on Wednesday. I was like, Quinny, I'm not going to write any program notes until 10 o'clock on Tuesday night, because I'm pretty sure that the feeling in the camp is going to be a lot different by that time. And luckily I was right, so I could write an article about it. But we were doing everything right, and I think I finished it on by saying, for all the fans that get frustrated with a Wimbledon and a Doncaster, there's a crew and a chef a Wednesday around the corner, and bringing it back to Stephen's now pretty famous. Everyone's mentioned his 5-game block thing. You noticed?
And it's strange.
Dave Salmon all the way through.
Quinny,
if we get a couple more good results, we'll be way ahead of target.
And it's funny that, because that was copyright ShrimpsNet number 11. That.
Just to give you even more tease about these program notes, I have actually put in there. If you don't know what the 5-game block theory of Stephen Robinson is, please listen to ShrimpsNet episodes 10 and 12.
Yeah, true.
Well
done, Charlie. I'm impressed. So moving back to Joel, Tuesday night, we didn't start particularly well, but first sort of 6-7 minutes, Crew very good at keeping the ball. They've got some really, really decent players in midfield. Robertson I particularly liked on the night. He was probing, but we changed our lineup to have one midfielder who would get beyond the ball in Adam Phillips. And to my mind, it changed our tactics in the first 20 minutes, because obviously we ended up scoring.
Yeah, it was very positive, the reaction on Tuesday, especially when you compare it to the last couple of trips to Crew, which have obviously been 5-0 and 6-0 on that. They weren't very fun. So it was nice to go back and actually have something to cheer about. But I think it was weird watching Crew, because I compare them in some ways to teams like we played like Shrewsbury. I thought were very poor, and Doncaster I thought were really poor at times as well. I compare them, and I thought Crew in many ways were quite a lot better, but then it did seem like they had a few frailties, maybe with wingers not tracking back properly. I don't know, that might have been where the first goal came from, with that lovely pass and Mutton out to Greg Lee, got him very easily there. So I don't know, obviously they probably do have some frailties, and that's why they're down at the bottom. But we obviously with like you mentioned with Adam Phillips, he's somebody who's going to run in and get into the area, maybe a bit more so than somebody like McCalmont, who's probably more of a kind of, he likes to dictate play from deep maybe. But yeah, like Adam Phillips, I heard Aaron Wilding make the comparison with Bruno Fernandes last season, and obviously it's a lofty comparison, but I get what he's saying, and I feel like Adam Phillips just religiously wants to get everything forward and just make everything go forward and attack quite a lot. So I think you do get that with him. And then on the wings, maybe John will be able to kind of comment on this more, but I noticed we had Nahua and McDonald. They were swapped around. They usually play on the kind of inverted flanks coming in, but they were on their outside. So McDonald right-footed on the right-hand side and Nahua on the left-hand side. I don't know if that might have been a bit more of a move to try and get more crosses in, because I know obviously Stephen Robinson's been talking a lot about that, and obviously we see the first 2 goals, they come from crosses, and we could have had another one with Cole getting one blocked on the line. So I think, we could see a lot of improvement. We kind of let Crew have the ball in certain areas. We were able to contain them a bit. And then when we had to defend doggedly, we did, Shane McLaughlin getting stuck in, making a good block. I remember in the second half, and then obviously Leathering pulling off a few absolutely blinding saves. So yeah, throughout the team, lots of really good performances.
And it is important, John, at this stage of the season, particularly with, as we know about Stephen's 5-game blocks, that we actually, we got something from that game, because the Crew commentators that I've listened to were making out that it was going to be their season had started last Saturday by beating Burton, and they were looking to carry that on. And obviously we gave them a bit of a shock going 2 goals to the good. But you've got, as a whole team performance, you've got to be really pleased with Tuesday night, haven't you?
Yeah, we were, you've touched on the fact that we have looked at the stats and performances early in the season, and part of them figures where we weren't getting enough crosses in. So when we're doing training sessions and planning sessions and leading up to games, that's part of the thought process of how we're going to break teams down You know, and for us, it's, you know, it was getting wide and getting crosses in, and unfortunately, you know, some games it works and some it doesn't. But in the whole, you know, I heard you mention about Adam being in the side to get forward, but you know, you need them to do the whole job and not just the forward part of the job. So, you know, you're in a team for a reason, not just to score goals, but to also defend as well, which, you know, he did as well. So it's not just Adam; it's the whole group of players that when they come in to do a job, they know the role, and I think they're all getting there now. You know, they're all realising what the role is when they're in a side, and how important it is to do both sides of the job, you know, the attacking and the defending as well. So at the minute, there's still lots to work on, but you know, we'll keep ticking along. And like you say, the Crew would have been expected to win that one, which is you know, that's up to them. But we certainly weren't expecting to lose it. We were expecting to win it as well, like we were expecting to win the Doncaster game. And I still feel, on the whole, we had more possession against Doncaster than we did against Crew. You know, so possession is not always going to get you the result, really, as you well know. But you know, I didn't think we were as bad as sort of you're making out there against Doncaster. We had some good opportunities as well. So yeah, we were disappointed. Yeah, a fantastic attitude to bounce back against Crew, and let's hope we can continue it into Saturday.
Yeah, I didn't say it was. I don't think it was it wasn't a particularly good game at Doncaster, particularly in the final thirds. That was my criticism. In the fact there was lots of decent football played up to sort of like 30 yards from goal by both sides, but then defensives were very much on top. And some of the chances that we conceded were probably of our own, you know, poor passes and interceptions, etc. And the same for them. So that's what I was alluding to. Yeah, I do take your point. So we'll move on to Charlie now. Tuesday night, Charlie. You, as you said, you waited to do your programme notes. You've got to be chuffed to bits with that, because as Joel has said, last time I went to Crewe, 5-0, which was a goal better than the time before, which was 6-0.
Yeah, no. I mean, one of the big performances for me was Scott Woodson.
Yeah.
In centre half, you know, there's a lot of people worrying about Sam leaving a big hole, and I think he's really come into his own in the last couple of games. Some of the passing he's done has been really, really amazing, and he looks like a really good prospect. Obviously got Delaney in the wing as well, and Jacob Mendes did well in the Everton game, didn't he? So we've got some good options there, but that was really good. I felt Kyle, obviously Jocko's been doing pretty well, but Kyle was a bit of a calming influence and looked a bit more solid. All in all, I was absolutely delighted.
And why not? Long may it continue. So, right, John, we'll come to you now. Some of our younger listeners will not realise, like Joel, that you actually played for the Shrimps in the early 90s. I think you had it. Yeah, how many seasons did you have with us? A couple?
Yeah, it was a couple of seasons. Yeah,
a couple of seasons. I know Brian Griffiths signed you, and I know it was 92, 93, definitely, because. As I was alluding to before we came on air, I've actually got, which I've had, for those watching on YouTube, you can see me lifting up this is the second ever Corpus Christi fanzine that myself, Glenn and Simon Atwood did. We were getting crowds of about, 300 at the time, if we were doing okay, John?
Yeah, you were lucky to get 300.
And do you know how many of these we were selling? 200.
500.
Yeah, we were selling 200 of these, would you believe, in a crowd of 350. But as you can see from the front of that, I don't know if you can see it. I'll try and get it a bit. There you go. If you look closely, you can see that the cover of the fanzine has Snow White, and she's wagging her finger at all the 7 dwarves. And she's actually saying, it doesn't matter how many times you beg, you can't play in midfield for Morecambe. You're all far too tall. And that was the joke at the time, because our midfield was John, who is 5'6.5".
Yes, don't forget the half-inch, makes a big difference.
Yeah, of course it does. Steve Horrocks, who was probably 5'6".
Yeah, man.
And Jimmy Brown. And Jimmy Brown was, well, if he was 5'6", I'll eat with a donkey.
Oh, I think Brown's half an inch taller than me, I think.
Oh, is he 5'7"?
Yeah.
He was 5'7". And Oh, the only thing I'll say was that Steve, the great thing about you three is in midfield, where you could all play football, but you could all put your foot in, but you didn't win many headers.
We won our fair share, don't worry. I was on Brownley's shoulders at some point.
So, yeah, those were. I know you enjoyed your time at Morecambe then, and obviously it's a completely different club. Christie Park didn't look like anything it ended up looking like, but I know you got a lot of respect for Griff at that time, didn't you?
Yeah, I thought it was again a nice football man. Knew the players, knew the game, was very respectful, and he wanted to play in the right way. He wanted you to play football, wanted you to compete and work hard, and again, give the fans some entertainment for their, they're coming to the gates, they're paying good money, they want to see passionate football, and Griff was in that mould himself. Yeah,
very much so, and. I alluded to it, the fact that before we came on air, that a lot of fans won't realise that a lot of the players that Griff signed went on to become very, very successful, get us promoted in '95 into the conference, and obviously helped us get established in the conference. And without that lot of lift up from the Northern Premier League, which was a tough division to get out of, John, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. There's some really good sides, some tough games, going. The away games, really, really tough. And a lot of good footballers within them leagues. So it was, to get out of them leagues was an achievement in itself.
And so we're looking back at the Griff's time now, and like I say, he did sign. He was lucky enough that he came to the club, and we'd just paid a record fee for Ian Kane. But I know he signed, Coley, Robbie Armstrong, Gary Dulligan, Paul Tomlinson, yourself. Peter King, loads of others over the years, and that helped us get established in the conference, which we wouldn't be where we are now. But did at that time when you were playing and you were a very, very good non-league player, did you always think, I want to stay involved in football?
Yes, it was. If it's not playing the top flight, it's playing the next best level you can do. It was always that way. Either you want to play football or you don't. Some people are not really, although they say the footballers, they don't really like playing football, which is incredible. Whether you're getting paid or not, to go and play football, to be fit enough to play football is one thing, and to actually get paid to play it, you're privileged. I was in a privileged position where I was fortunate enough to get paid to play football. So, that's the way I saw it, and to go and enjoy something. It was even more fulfilling for me.
And looking at your career with us now, you're in an invidious position, because we can talk to you about Jim Bentley, and then we can talk to you about Derek Adams, and now we can talk to you about Steve Robinson, because you've outlasted two of those, haven't you?
Well, that's a rare thing in football, isn't it? You're not normally at a club for many years for whatever reasons, whether a manager goes or you're the first to go. So. I've been fortunate enough to work with them three people, like you say, and some fantastic coaches and people to work with. For me, it's, every one of them I learn from, every one of them you're picking bits up from, and every one of them I've got massive respect for.
And it's I know when you became involved, and I was fortunate enough to bump into you and say sort of like, welcome back, and it's great, and blah, blah, blah. And it didn't actually it took a little bit of time, but then you got involved in the first team. And I hope you don't mind, but speaking to the first team players at the time, they were impressed with your coaching, because they always said, John McMahon, he's always really, really positive. And you always want to, turn with the ball, look forward if you can, etc., etc. That's what came back. So that's presumably that's why Jim and Ken got you involved with the first team, because you brought something different to them too. Yeah,
well, I think it was at a time, it's a tough role as it is, the manager's job. So if you can add anything to sessions to help the manager, then that's what it was there for me. My initial role was head of coaching, so I was going in and working with all the age groups from the under 8s right through to the reserve side then, and then Jim asked me would I come along and do some sessions, and it grew from there really. The fact that some of the first team lads have spoke highly of the sessions, I thank them for that. I was just there to do a job, and hopefully it was highly thought of. You know, and again, you're there to help the manager and his assistant Kenny. You know, it was good times. Again, always learning, always a difficult position to be in. You know, to try and get results based on the position that we were in at the time.
And then I'm moving on to Derek, and Derek came in and was like, I'll say a breath of fresh air, because he was a completely different character to Jim. But he did his background checks and he decided, yes, I want John McMahon as my coach, which must have been, was that a surprise to you, or were you happy with that? Or what?
Yeah, we had the conversation. Obviously, gutted that Jim left. You know, I've still got a lot of time for Jim. We still talk and you know, discuss things. And I was absolutely gutted that, you know, Jim decided to leave. Derek come in, and again, you're in a position. I was still head of coach in my role, and Derek said, "Listen, he's got no preconceptions of bringing his own assistant in. Let's see how it went for a couple of weeks. If I was prepared to stay and work with the first team still, which he agreed to. After a couple of weeks, then he obviously said, "Listen, I quite like the way it's working. Would I like the position? Yes or no?" And I said, "Let me have a think about it." And a couple of days later, you know, I thought it was the right thing to do. And again, learned so much off Derek. Yeah, listen, no two managers are the same. Everyone has their own way of playing, their own style of management, and it doesn't make one right and one wrong. You know, everyone's different, and that's what makes football characters and the way people work. You know, it's always intriguing for me to see how they do their jobs.
So we're coming now to Steve Robinson and Dermot O'Carroll. Again, Derek did a brilliant job last year. There won't be anybody who'll say a word against him.
Absolutely, yeah.
We played a particular way, which was very, very successful, given a lot of players that he'd signed and the systems that we employed. Am I right in thinking now under Steve and Dermot, we're a bit more football orientated, and we're a bit more worried about let's try and keep the ball rather than what to do when we've not got it?
No, not really. I think people are, I don't know, maybe have the wrong opinion. They're like all managers, their job is to win football matches. Now, however you decide to win that match, or try and win that match, that's up to you. Was Derek successful? Yes. Was his style of play easy on the eye? Sometimes I thought we played some fantastic football. Yeah. Did he get the job done? Yeah. There's lots of different styles and ways of playing football, but at the end of the day, people want to see winning football. You know, that's what they want to see. It's no use playing fantastic football and then losing 1 or 2-0. You know, at the end of the day, the manager wants to win football matches, and judged on winning football matches. And I'm sure the gaffer coming in now, he's the same. He wants to win football matches. If we can get an ugly 1-0 win, brilliant. If we can get a fantastic footballing display and win 1-0, even better. But ultimately, we want to win football matches. Yes, he's come in with sort of different style of playing, and the sessions are certainly different. But you know, ultimately, it's all about looking at the opposition, playing against the opposition, and trying to outwit and outplay the opposition, and coming away with the 3 points.
So finally, from me, before I let Joel loose, finally from me, just you've obviously got a massive history, particularly at Morecambe Football Club, with a large part of a decent part of your playing career, and also now as a coach.
Yeah.
Are you ever in a situation now where you think, I want to go it alone? I'd like a manager's job somewhere, even if it was non-league, because you had non-league experience?
No, I've never. I've had obviously experiences of being a caretaker manager at clubs, and that was thrust upon me. Never really enjoyed the role. No, it's not a sort of a job I'd want, and not a manager's job. I'm quite uncomfortable with that sort of front of house, so to speak. I quite like being in the background, quite like just going about my work quietly, although some might think a bit different when they hear me shouting. I tend to want to stay out the way, just quietly work away in the background. And to be honest, you're quite fortunate to get me on tonight, really. This could be me one and only venture on it. So think yourself lucky, because, you know, crime watching the police might be watching this and I'm in trouble.
So my final thing is, I think I have a theory why you don't want to be a manager, and it's because you wouldn't be able to wear shorts all the time. Am I right?
No, you can wear shorts as a manager. Don't you? It just be uncomfortable in the boardrooms. But again, it's something I don't. Now, when I was playing, when I was a young boy at Everton, you know, the coach then, Colin Harvey, we weren't allowed to train in tracksuit bottoms. And, you know, the thought process was behind it is you can't play in them, so why train in them? Yeah. You know, you become whether you can't play in a hat, so warm up in a hat, but you don't train in a hat, and, you know, and that's something I've followed through all my coaching career and the roles I've had at clubs, even with Liverpool, which was difficult at times, telling some of them senior players, especially, you know, your Andre Vornans and that, take your hat off. No, coach. Went, no, take your hat off. You can't train. No. Okay, then no problem. In you go. And he took his hat off in the end. So no problem. Let's go. Take your hat off and train, or keep your hat on and go back in the building. It's up to you. And the reason being, once you explain that this, can you play in that hat? No. Fine. No problem. Then don't train it. Then people are good with that. But the shorts thing is exactly the same as far as I'm concerned. You can't play in them, so, you know, don't train in them. I'm quite comfortable in just my shorts anyway, so.
Yeah, we had noticed.
Just got no feelings left for all the operations I've had on my legs, so.
See, that's the key. All your nerves are dead, so you can't feel the cold.
Correct. Absolutely.
Right, I hope I haven't stolen your thunder, Joel. I'm sure you've got far more in-depth questions than that.
I was looking forward to the never been a manager question, but don't worry, I've got some reserved. But actually, to be honest, I think we may as well call it here, because we've got an anecdote about telling Andre Voronin not to wear a beanie. So, like, yeah, how can this podcast get any better? I think we peaked.
I think it was 2 months after World Cup duty as well, by the way. So
love it. Oh, that's great, fantastic. But so obviously going on to your time at Morecambe, obviously Freez touched on a bit how you played under different managers. So how has your role changed much between managers, and maybe do you kind of look at different managers and see what kind of manager they are and kind of adapt how you are to kind of fit around them?
You have to adapt in certain areas, but again, you've just got to be yourself and just do what's asked of you, really. Some managers will want more from you than others. If you change your personality and the way you go about things, I think you're just being untrue to yourself, really. I don't think you're going to do the job you can do to your full potential. So, again, it's like coaches are similar to players. If a manager comes in and he doesn't like what you're doing, you're not going to be there too long. So hopefully that's, you know, the manager, the gaffer now, would obviously appreciates and likes what I'm doing. If not, then, you know, there's only going to be one outcome. That's the same. It's exactly the same with players. So, but, you know, really enjoying what I'm doing. I'd like to think I offer, and I have offered Jim when he was here, and Derek when he was here, and hopefully in the gaffer now, you know, hopefully you feel part of the team and you're offering something towards what we all want, and that's successful players on the pitch.
And kind of in regard to those three managers, obviously not wanting to, I don't expect you to kind of tell me the whole philosophy or anything, because, but what were the kind of key, would you highlight any kind of key differences between Jim Bentley, Derek Adams and Stephen Robinson?
I think Jim is the younger of all of them. I think Jim is sort of a player's player, really. You know, he wants to be still buddies with the friends, like all managers do, and they get on well. But, you know, there's obviously a line you cross. Jim is still getting experience now. great knowledge of the game, really friendly with the players, and was really caring and like most managers are, and a real empathy with the fans as well. Obviously, being a player there as well. Derek was he'd come in and he was really focused on different areas of the club. His main focus was not worried about how we get results, how we play, just to get the results. And if anything was in the way of that, then we brush it aside. And there was a big focus on whatever it took to get the results. He would do it, and nothing stood in the way. Nothing. Players, days off were very rare, to be fair. But it was a winning formula for him and for the club, and you can't knock people like that. That's the way people work. If that's the way they work, and it's successful, then it's successful, and you've got to credit people for the way they go about that. Jim's was successful in all his years he was there. Kenny, the job they done was incredible for the funds and the budget that they worked on. The stresses, the training facilities, just everything seemed to be against the club. But again, Jim and Kenny made the environment a special environment for the players to learn and then thrive on, which they did, and they was very successful in what they done to keep the club in the league for all them years. Derek again different, and then now the gaffer's come in and he's different again. So you just got to be adaptable and be there to help and support both the manager and the players to get what they want.
And surely now the training facilities that you've seen the change in, it's luxury now, isn't it, John?
It's a lot better than what it was. We'd still love our own, to be able to come in and just be, just have that solely for us, because we're still, having to move around pitches, areas, and although the facilities are really good at the uni, that they've been very welcoming and they do a fantastic job for us. There's still nothing like having your own training facility where it's solely yours. You can really put some good work on it rather than having to adapt and move pitches and areas and that. But take nothing away from Lancaster Uni, they do accommodate us. They do a great job. The staff there are very welcoming and accommodating to us. So it's a lot better than what it was for sure. Going forward, we would still like to see, like everything, we want to get better as a group of players, and for the club to improve also, which would mean hopefully buying our own training ground ultimately.
So all listeners, keep buying the lottery tickets.
Yes, please.
So with the new manager coming in, obviously it was a hectic week with Derek going a few days after Wembley, interviews happened over the weekend. I think it was Monday or Tuesday, something like that. Just very, very soon after Stephen gets announced, and first thing he's got to do, he comes in and they're pretty much the whole squad are out of contract, and I'm assuming in making those decisions, you were pretty key point of contact, having worked with the players for the season. And was that quite a difficult thing for you? Obviously, you come away a week after that kind of big high of Wembley, and then you've got to kind of almost probably give quite cold assessments of players to the new manager coming in. Was that quite a difficult thing to do?
It is really what it did do. It gave the gaffer a blank canvas to work with. Obviously, I think there was Carlos he had an extra 1 year on his contract. Sam was the same, so I think there was 3 in contract, and then the rest it's up to the gaffer coming in to either re-sign some of the players or let the contracts expire and bring in his own staff, which was what ultimately he decided to do, which is again, I think, a really, really tough challenge to bring so many new players into a club. And I think his decision making and his recruitment has been fantastic so far. So every credit that the work that's gone into it from himself and from them has been incredible. He's relied on a lot of people to sort of fall back on and give judgments and prod him about certain players. So, I think they've done an unbelievable job in what we've got so far. Not that it's finished by a long chalk. Will be 2 or 3 years, I think, before, we really see a team gelling and what we really want.
So in terms of the recruitment, do you have much say in the recruitment? Or is it more occasionally as a sounding board?
Now it's a discussion about players, obviously. Players in the building, we're looking at targets, we're looking at areas to improve on, where we need to strengthen. So we're always discussing areas of improvement as regards the squad, and then come the discussions about players and individuals. So players will get put forward, and we'll have a discussion about them, the pros, the cons, and what's best for the club. So now there's a discussion. Previous to that, obviously, the gaffer had to make decisions without any discussions, because we were not at the club at that time, but so he's had to make them decisions and make the decisions quickly, which is, it's always tough coming into a club like that. So fair play and every credit to the job he's done so far, and the players he's recruited, which is fantastic testament to one, his judgment in players, and two, how he sees them fitting into the club. It's a good fit, really.
Oh, thank you very much. Very interesting.
Good questions as always, Joel. Miles more in depth than my rubbish. Well done. Charlie.
Your favourite, John? Who's your favourite?
Pardon?
Jim, Derek, or Stephen? Who's your favourite?
Who's my favourite?
Dancer.
All three.
Send me a text, won't pass it on.
Yeah, very good.
No, John, you're out is Brian Griffiths, isn't it? Oh, Griff was the best one. Yeah.
Class, absolute class.
I'll go on record saying that John was very modest there. I know for a fact from the difference between the video behind me to 2 days later Derek not being there, and just having three or four players in contract and Stephen coming in. I know he was very, very, very valued sounding board on what to do, and Stephen and Dermot really, really valued his support. So I think he's been a bit modest there.
That's very kind of you, Charlie.
I think he's been quite modest all along, to be absolutely truthful, but that's just me. But anyway, so Charlie, I'm looking forward to your programme notes on Saturday. We'll move on. We'll talk about two upcoming home games. Accrington won 4, lost 4. Which is an interesting stat from the point of view they're -3 on the goal difference after a heavy defeat at home. John Coleman, who played with John in his time at Christie Park, a Morecambe legend. They always give us a tough game to Aki, and they're set up always to play football.
Yeah, I remember about 5 years ago, James Wakefield and our friend Darren Mills and I went to Accrington Stanley on a Friday night in the freezing cold rain. We lost 3-1, and it was a bit of a dark day, but we always have a good game with them. John O'Sullivan, I don't know if he's going to be playing on Saturday, but he's obviously coming back, and we're looking forward to it, and hoping that the mushy peas are being released instead of the processed peas in the catering establishments as well.
I know that was your complaint last time, wasn't it? I wasn't bothered. I quite like processed peas with a pie, but I'll take mushy on Saturday.
But it's funny that Joel and I were talking last week about the table. They were second in the table, weren't they, 2 games ago?
Yeah.
Now they're mid-table. If we win on Saturday, we go above them.
Yeah.
It's crazy league. It's just really, really exciting, and it's going to be a big game. And we also think about both Accrington and Lincoln. Our goal is to be a sustainable, profitable, competitive League One club. Both of those clubs we're playing in the next 2 home games have both come from, lower league, got up there. Andy Holt's done a fantastic job developing young players, selling them on. We've got a lot to learn from those 2 clubs, and if they can do it, and obviously if they can do it, we can hopefully do it as well.
I sincerely hope so. Yeah, like you said, this league at the moment is very, very, very entertaining, isn't it? It's all over the place.
It's fantastic.
So presumably, John, after the win at Crewe, you haven't got a right lot of time to work with the players to plan something for Accrington, have you?
we've always got plans in place, behind the scenes. Harry, who's the analyst, is doing his yards as well. He's putting the yards and the mileage in getting the stuff ready for the next opponent. So, there's always plans in place. But like you said, it's 2 games a week. Everything's hectic. It's from one to the other. Recover, work on the opposition, reflect on what we've been through. So, it is a hectic schedule.
But presumably looking at play, and I'll come to Joel with this one as well. Both you and John, you know how Coley's going to play. He's a bit of a purist, is Coley, as well as a pragmatist. He likes him to keep it on the deck and move it, doesn't he?
Yeah, I mean, looking at the some of the stats from like the previous few seasons, I kind of they're quite weird. They have lots of like they're quite direct, and they have a lot of kind of entries into the box this season and lots of chances, but they don't always. They're a little bit wasteful, but it's just lots of just. It just seems very quite attacking and getting forward. And there is, I've not seen them play in such a long time, but I've kind of seen these numbers pop up on my little geek sphere on Twitter.
Yeah, and, the first in the league for playing directly into the strikes, the first in the league for balls from their own half into the penalty area. So, that suggests in itself they are very, very direct. If it's successful, then that's the way they want to go. Like I alluded to before, you can't always play fantastic football and win football matches, but I think Coley has done a really, really good job there. Him and Jimmy Bell, they know the leagues, they know the players, and they know how to win football matches. And I wouldn't be sucked into that. It's total football because it's not for me, really. He has a really winning formula it suits him and it suits his players.
Yeah, like I said, a pragmatic Coley, who was the same as a player, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was horrible as a player.
Yeah, I always remember. I can't remember where we were, John, and I don't know if you were playing that day, but we were winning somewhere 3-2 with about a minute left, and he deliberately stood by the corner flag, waving like that, going to me, and then somebody passed him and he went, "Oh, I'm miles offside," and kicked the ball over the fence because he knew it'd just waste time.
Well,
that's typical Coley.
He's a clever footballer, and he's obviously taken that into his managerial career, and every credit to him, he's been really successful, So let's hope he continues to enjoy his football, but not on Saturday.
Yeah, well said. And then very quickly, we've got Lincoln. Obviously, played the same as everybody else. 1-2, drawn 2, lost 4. But they've got an even goal difference. So they've had a pretty good start. Having had a good season last season, I think they'll probably be disappointed with the start, though, Joel.
Yeah, no, they have. Obviously, they've picked up a little bit now, but they were quite slow to start off with, which came as a bit of a surprise when I know what I watched them a bit in the playoffs last season. I really like them. I really like watching them. So, and they've got a really good manager, Michael Appleton, as well. So yeah, it was a bit of a surprise that they had a bit of a slow start, but I suppose they've got good crowds there. Obviously, they pretty much pack out the ground with about 10,000 or something. So they've got decent crowds, but like you say, they're not one of the big boys in the division when you compare to some of the sides that are there. So ultimately, they are going to go through bad patches, but as they showed last season, they've got it well within them as a club to push to the kind of upper parts of the league if they're smart and they kind of do things well, and that's what they seem to be doing. But yeah, so it'll definitely be a good game. Michael Appleton traditionally likes to play like quite a nice brand of football, quite attacking as well. So hopefully it should be exciting.
Couldn't call it, could you? If you predict the results, you probably win the lottery as well. You can't. It's just too difficult to call.
Yeah, I mean, you see us beating Sheffield Wednesday and then going and losing to Doncaster. You just never know.
That's the beauty of this league at the moment, isn't it? Everybody's capable of beating everybody else at the moment.
Look at the last 3 results they've lost: beating Cambridge 5-1 away, drawn with Rotherham, we know are a good team, and then lost to Ipswich at home.
Yeah.
I
think Charlie's got his stats handy there. Yeah, damn right. So are you up for these 2 games, Charlie? Yeah.
Both, yeah. I'm up for 5 days. Wife's not happy.
All right. Yeah, you're heading north. You're heading north.
Heading north with my golf clubs, obviously.
And your boot full of mushy peas as well.
Yeah, and 10 mushy peas in case it's frozen peas again. Yeah.
So yet again, John, I'll come finally to you. Lincoln, again, slightly different proposition to Accrington, but you know what you're up against with, as Joel said, with Michael Appleton, don't you?
Yeah, I think they're going to be up there come the end of the season. You know, they've got a really, really good squad. I think they've got a good manager. And again, he's proved successful. They've been successful. And last year, I think they tough sides to play against. All tough games in this league, as everyone's spoken about and alluded to. So, again, we can go into that game hopefully with 3 points against Accrington, and we'll be on a high. So,
well, looking at them, Accrington is slightly above us, Lincoln slightly below us. By the time we next speak, you two, it could have all changed. So that's just the way. That's the way this division goes, isn't it?
Correct.
Like you said, Freez. If we got 3 points, we'd probably be happy, wouldn't we?
Yeah, it's I always think it's better, and that really comes from last season, John, because obviously we won half of our games last season, 23 out of 46, and that got us into the position last year, didn't it?
Yeah, it does. Again, although you don't like losing games, you'd rather win one and lose one than draw two. The feelings are totally different. So, it's balancing everything out. But I'm sure we'll be happy come next weekend.
I hope you're right, and I hope my daft questions and Joel's searching questions haven't put you off coming on again, because it's been a joy having you on. You've been absolutely brilliant. I particularly like the Voronin story. Charlie, have you got anything to add from the boardroom other than mushy peas?
No, apart from James and I have assessed the 3-year plan and the achievements so far, and Ryan Daly's going to be talking about the next phase of what we're going to be doing in the next couple of weeks. So have a watch out. Well,
that'll be good, because you can have a world exclusive and you can release it on here. I'm quite happy for that. So thanks for joining us. This has been another episode of the ShrimpsNet. It's been fun to talk to John McMahon, as usual, Charlie from the boardroom, and Joel from the Shrimps Trust. If you aren't a member of the Shrimps Trust, please do join. Have we got over 600 now, Joel?
Yeah, quite comfortably over 600, I think. And I think we've just got some new another little key rings you get in the membership packs. We've got a few more of those. So
there you are. You see, I've got them, and I went to Aldi today and used it in my trolley. So it was
lovely, absolutely.
Thanks for listening to this. It's been fun as always. We really do appreciate you listening. Thank you to Ryan Daly from the club, who's now putting this on the club website, so there's a link to it, because the traffic's increased 20-fold now. Thanks, Ryan Daly, for that, and also keep up the good work. This has been ShrimpsNet. Join us again next week.